He didn't know what to expect, but he knew that something in his life was about to change. For some time now, the world he knew seemed to be unraveling, as if the boundaries between the visible and the invisible were blurring. Sometimes he felt as if he were being watched from places he couldn't identify. It wasn't just a feeling of intuition, but something deeper, something stronger. He sensed that he was not alone, that a greater force, something invisible, was watching him, guiding him. And then it happened. The night before had felt like any other, but there was something in the stillness, something in the air, that made him uneasy. When he finally closed his eyes and surrendered to sleep, he had no idea that what he was about to experience would challenge everything he thought he knew about the universe and the spiritual world. In the dream, he found himself in a place he couldn't identify, a space of shadows and lights that danced gently, yet overflowed with an indescribable feeling, something between comfort and foreboding. The environment felt both vast and intimately confined, as if he were standing at a portal between two worlds. He walked alone, feeling his footsteps softly echoing on a ground that seemed to pulse with an energy he couldn't explain. The air was thick, charged with a silent expectation. He just knew somehow that he was there for a reason, and then he saw something, or rather someone. He couldn't see their face, but the name was printed in the air like a flame, pulsing, vibrating. The name was his. He himself was there somehow. What he saw next was even more surprising. In the emptiness of that strange dimension, his image was projected with clarity. He was there, but in a different version, a version of himself that he did not recognize. The details were vague, but the feeling was clear, a transcendental being, illuminated, almost ethereal. He was no longer the man he once knew, but something beyond him, something much deeper, connected to the cosmos. It was in that moment that he heard a voice, soft yet piercing, that didn't come from any visible source, but seemed to emanate from all of reality around him. The voice spoke gently, yet so clearly that he knew exactly what it was saying. "You are here because something great is approaching. It is not only you who must perceive this. The destiny is intertwined. Your journey, your purpose, you will see, and your presence here, your energy, is the key to all that is to come." The sensation he experienced was indescribable. It was as if something profound was being unveiled before him, as if a curtain had been lifted, and he could see what had previously been shrouded by the mist of time and space. He felt, with an uncommon clarity, that this dream was not just a fragment of his mind. It was a vision, a revelation. You will help open the portals to the new world. Your name has been spoken for a reason. Do not ignore this. And as if it were a confirmation that he was on the right path, he saw something. It wasn't a concrete image, but an energy, something vibrating at a different frequency. It was as if he was seeing the future, or perhaps a future version of himself, and he understood. He comprehended on a deep level what that moment meant. He was being called to something greater. You realize what is happening, don't you? This was the question he felt pulsing within him, as if it were the key to his understanding. What he experienced in that dream seemed to be merely a precursor, a small spark of a much larger and more intense path. From that moment on, he knew his life would never be the same. He woke up sweating, his heart racing, but with an indescribable feeling that he was facing something significant. It wasn't just a dream. It was a message, a spiritual calling. It was as if he had crossed a threshold, touched something greater, something too profound to be fully understood at that moment. What he felt was a deep connection with ancestral wisdom, something that could not be explained in simple words. It was as if, the moment he opened his eyes, a new awareness about his life began to take shape. He was about to live something that would transcend everything he had experienced up until then. And then it dawned on him that the name mentioned in that dream, his own name, was not a coincidence. It was a mark, a reminder that he had a vital role in the story unfolding before him. He was being guided towards something beyond comprehension. Something was aligning, and he would be a crucial piece in this process. In the days that followed, he started to notice the signs, small, almost imperceptible, but present, as if the universe was responding, as if the dream had initiated an invisible movement that would lead him to what he was meant to do. He found himself more connected, more sensitive to what was happening around him. With every step he took, he felt as though he was being guided by something invisible, yet tangible. Each decision seemed to be influenced by a greater force. He knew he was no longer alone. That's when he began to realize that perhaps it was time to take action. What he had seen was not a vague warning but a direct call, and he could no longer ignore it. Do you also feel the call? What would you do if you knew your name was mentioned in such a vivid dream? These questions echoed in his mind. He knew he couldn't ignore what had happened. He couldn't leave behind that powerful vision. Something greater was at stake. Whatever had been revealed that night was not just about him, it was about all of us. He had somehow become a channel for something bigger, something he still didn't completely understand, but felt deeply. As the days went by, he began to seek answers, no longer in books or in words spoken by others. He started searching within himself, in the depths of his soul, in the place where the truth lay hidden, waiting to be discovered. He knew he was being guided by something greater, but there was still much he needed to realize. Have you realized it too? What he experienced? Could his path also be yours in some way? Maybe you are being called just like he was. Perhaps you have felt, deep down in your soul, that something great is waiting for you. Something you don't yet understand, but that somewhere deep inside you, you know is on its way. That feeling of restlessness, of being on the brink of experiencing something that changes everything. Have you ever felt that? I invite you to reflect. What is the universe trying to show you right now? What do you need to realize? It's no coincidence that you are reading these words now. It's not by accident that we are meeting at this point in your journey. What is being revealed to him can also be revealed to you, but it all starts with the act of realizing, being willing to see what lies beyond what the eyes can perceive. I know that something is about to change. He knows it, and maybe you also realize that the change has already begun. He felt a force that he could no longer ignore. The echo of the dream still reverberated within him, like a calling, a persistent whisper that wouldn't quiet down. Every step he took seemed to be guided by an invisible hand, something that led him without him knowing exactly where to. But deep down he knew. He was being taken down a path from which there was no return, as if at the moment his name was spoken in that cosmic space of the dream, he had crossed an invisible line. Something was revealing itself before him, something beyond human comprehension, something profoundly spiritual. That morning, as the sun timidly rose on the horizon, he decided to take the first step. Something inside him urged him to seek answers, no longer in places where he sought advice or superficial understandings, but in the deepest part of his soul. He began to meditate, sitting in silence, searching the depths of his being for the truths that were being shown to him, truths he hadn't known were his until then. The dream wasn't just about him. He realized that the dream hadn't chosen him by chance. It wasn't just an isolated vision. The universe was preparing him for something greater, for a spiritual mission that transcended the limitations of time and space. He felt that, by being mentioned in that dream, his life had taken an irreversible direction. The future unfolding before him was complex, but also filled with purpose, and he could not turn back. He knew he was no longer alone. The energy accompanying him guided him silently, yet firmly. He felt the presences around him, invisible figures yet intensely real, watching his every movement. Something observed him with an intensity he had never felt before. It wasn't just a simple intuition, it was a concrete yet invisible presence that accompanied him. What would you do if you knew that the path you are walking isn't just yours, that in some way the fate of everyone around you is intertwined with your own? These questions started to arise, one after another, and he could no longer escape them. He knew that his journey was not limited to just himself. His name, spoken in that dream, meant more than he ever imagined. He was an important piece in something much larger. Perhaps you, who are now reading these words, feel that your life is also intertwined with this mystery, that perhaps what he is experiencing resonates within you as well. As the days that followed went by, he continued to feel this connection to something greater, as if he were in tune with the universe. Each step he took seemed to be guided by an invisible energy, leading him to places he never knew existed, to encounters that were not mere coincidences, but fated meetings. He met people, listening to their stories, and realized that many were experiencing the same feelings. Everyone sensed a change. Everyone was being called to something greater. He began to understand that the dream, the vision of the future, the name that was spoken, these were all interconnected with a collective destiny. He was not alone. He and those around him were on a spiritual journey, one that involved more than individual understanding. It was a journey that required awakening, reflection, and most importantly, action. What he felt was the beginning of a significant transformation, not just his, but for everyone. Have you ever stopped to think that the call he heard is the same one you are feeling? What he knew for sure now was that this path had no turning back. He needed to move forward, and more importantly, he needed to help others realize what was unfolding. The transformation wouldn't be complete until everyone understood the great revelation. He could no longer hide behind his doubts or fears. The journey was there, and he had a fundamental role in it. The signs began to become clearer. Each day he noticed more. In moments of silence and reflection, the answers would emerge. Every meeting, every conversation seemed to hold a greater purpose, a reason beyond surface-level interactions. He knew that everything was part of a larger plan, a plan that transcended any human understanding, a spiritual plan. Have you ever had that feeling that something is aligning, that every detail of your life is connecting in a way you never thought possible? As the days went by, he continued to delve deeper into his self-awareness. He could no longer ignore what he felt. He needed to take action. Something within him urged him to share what he was learning. He started to open up more to the people around him, sharing his discoveries, his reflections, and to his surprise, many began to resonate with his words. Others were experiencing the same thing. Others were receiving signs. It was as if a movement was growing, a wave of perception sweeping through everyone. Deep down he knew he was a bridge, a channel between the visible and the invisible. He felt that his experience was not just his own, it was universal. He was being called to something much greater, and by opening himself to it, he realized that doors were beginning to open for him as well. The path was unfolding clearly and powerfully before him. The truth began to reveal itself. He didn't need to understand everything all at once. He just needed to move forward, trust the process, and above all, notice the signs. What he learned was that each step he took brought him closer to a greater truth, and that this truth wasn't just a single revelation, but a continuous awakening. He understood that all of this was part of something much bigger, a spiritual journey that involved not just him, but all of us. Are you ready to notice what the universe is trying to show you? He didn't know exactly what the next step would be, but he felt that wherever he went, the answers were within reach. He had the sense that he was being led, not by his own will, but by something much deeper. He was being guided, like a river flowing its course to the sea without questioning the direction. And he knew that even though he didn't know exactly what was coming, the future was unfolding before him, and he was ready to walk toward it. Life would never be the same again. The journey that was beginning now was just the start of something much greater, and what he realized over time was that by opening his eyes to the signs, he also opened the doors to a deeper reality. A reality in which everything was interconnected, where every being, every soul had a crucial role to play. And by following this path, he not only transformed his own life, but also contributed to a greater transformation, a collective awakening. Did you notice? What he felt is something that can also be your reality. Everything is interconnected. What begins as an intimate and profound revelation can suddenly expand into something much larger. What do you choose to perceive? What do you choose to see now that the signs are within your reach? I invite you to reflect, because your path may be the next to be revealed. If what you've read so far has touched something within you, I invite you to continue with me. What's to come could change everything. Click here and keep going on this awakening.